Fred's awake. Welcome back to the homestead. So today, although it's a little bit nasty out, we're going to go ahead and take some measurements. In this area, we want to do some short strawberry beds, and we're going to do one between this set of trees and one between the next set of trees. So we need to just get an idea of what size these beds can be. We want them to be so that they fill this space nicely, but they don't really exceed it. So I think 3 feet deep and 6 feet long is probably going to be a pretty nice measurement for this one. Which means that we'll also make this one 3 feet deep. And we could go with 6 feet or we could go with 7 feet on this one. But for reasons of symmetry, we'll probably go ahead and do 2 3x6 1 layer tall, so 6-inch tall beds for our strawberries right in here. I think that'll fill in this space nicely. Over in the big garden area, we've also got a few more beds that we'd like to add another layer to. They were our squash beds last year, and we didn't really have enough soil at the time to go ahead and fill them up any fuller, so we just left them at 1 layer. But now we'd like them to be 2 layers deep. So let's head over there and we'll check those out. All right, so these are our 4 beds that we used for squash last year. We want to add another layer to them. And if I recall correctly, we did all 4-foot boards on this. So if you wanted a perfect square, you would compensate for that by making 2 of the boards a couple inches shorter than the others so that they were a perfect square, but I don't think that's what we did. I think we made all of these 4-foot boards. So we're going to double check that, and then we'll go inside and we'll get to building. And I'm checking all 3 just in case. We actually built one of these different. We would hate to cut all the boards and then realize with the price of lumber these days that we were wrong and that some of them are the wrong size. So sure enough, they are all a perfect 4 foot. So that makes our lives pretty easy. We're going to go inside where it's dry and get started on making some toppers for these beds and making the other 3 foot by 6 foot beds that we plan to put over next to the chicken coop.
Alright, so we're back inside where it's warm. We've got the mini split going here in the wood shop, and we have our pile of cedar. So we actually purchased 2x6 cedar lumber from our local sawmill. They call it garden bed grade. So as they go to cull out or grade their cedar wood, they set aside the stuff that isn't quite up to, you know, being a pure number 2 or number 1, whatever grade they want to call it, and they sell it pretty cheaply, reasonably, however you want to say that. I think it's $1.25 a foot. Interesting to note is their prices have not really changed with all the other prices out there, you know, COVID related stuff, plywood going up from $15 to $20 to $65. Their garden bed stuff has stayed the same price. So anyway, this is what we've got. I'm going to go ahead and cut some stuff here. We're going to make the 3x6 beds to start. So I'm going to cut us some pieces out of this, and then we'll show you how to screw it together, or how we do it. I mean, there's a million ways to do it. So we're going to cut we're going to cut a 4-footer out of this because it would be a waste to cut 3, and there's nothing left on the end of it if you Same thing, we're gonna cut another 4 for the other garden bed out of that, just to minimize waste.
Oh,
Remember, this is number
right. This is it like after the video. Possible that the quality of my section is going to be slightly lackluster. Huh?
It's okay. You're not gonna twist it with me.
And what are we doing with this one? Are we doing this one a full height bed? Or is this a
No,
full
these are
strawberry?
the strawberry beds.
right, so as you can see, we've gotten our dirt in our beds and raised these 4 up to double the height that they were before. These are the toppers that we built to go on these beds. We didn't bring you along for that because nobody wants to see me work that hard. So here they are in place. What we did was put them on top of the existing 6-inch bed, and then we put stakes down the side so that we could screw it all together to make sure that it all holds nice and solid. And then of course we added squash. So we're gonna bring you back here in a little bit and give you a whole tour of all the updates that we've done around here because we have been really busy. But right now we're going to take you over and show you the strawberry beds that we built at the same time.
And we did forget to bring the camera along on some of these projects, but we'll do a 15 or 20 minute tour here in a little bit. And we'll show you all those projects.
So here is the first of our strawberry beds, as you can see right here next to the summer kitchen. We only put these in about 4 or 5 days ago, and as you can see, they are doing great. They're really coming up beautifully for us. These were ordered from Norse Farms online. And so far, we've been incredibly happy with all of the plants that we have gotten from them. We did these strawberries and we ordered 250 of those. And last year we did our raspberries from them also. And we've been very happy with that rootstock. It had basically a 100% success rate on the growth. So those have been wonderful, and we are expecting 50 asparagus plants from them in the next few days. So that's going to be really neat. We're going to start a whole great big asparagus bed, so we'll bring you along and show you how we're planting asparagus. Over here are our other 2 strawberry beds. So we only did really short beds for the strawberries because they don't need a lot of soil depth. Their roots stay fairly shallow. And we wanted to prevent a lot of the grass and stuff from growing up underneath these. So we went ahead and installed a weed barrier fabric underneath them to help prevent weeds from coming up through the dirt. We wanted to take a second to talk about the wood that we used in our raised beds. All of our raised beds are made out of cedar rough cut 2-inch boards. And the reason that we chose cedar is because it's very rot resistant. This was purchased from a sawmill that's only about 10 miles from our house, so it's very local. And we also very much like to support local business. But when you're choosing raised bed material, if you were to go to your big box store, for example, and choose standard 2x6s, they'll be made of spruce or pine or some soft wood generally. And the problem with that, it is usable, but it's going to rot very quickly. So you'll only get a couple years out of those beds before you'll have to replace them. And we don't want to use pressure treated in our garden beds because there's a lot of chemicals used in that process. And when you're trying to grow your own vegetables, one of the goals is to get away from a lot of the chemicals that are involved in gardening in commercial scale. So we obviously don't want to be adding those back in with a wood product that's been treated with something that could be potentially bad for our health. So what we're using is just an all-natural cedar from a local sawmill. And that's what we recommend as garden beds. If you can't get cedar, hemlock is a good option as well. It's relatively rot resistant. But really look for something that's not pressure treated, first of all. And then if you can find something that is in a rot resistant material, especially if it's a rough cut so that it's extra thick, these should last us a good long time. So that's where we're at on our raised beds. Hopefully you learned something. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.